if we could try to keep this to 60 minutes, like give it an honest effort, I think that might be best for everyone because I could see this going like 4 hours.
Well, then we might as well start the show then. Let's just...
What is going on, everybody? I'm Tom.
And I'm Pat.
We're best friends, and you're listening to the Reminiscent Podcast. No time to waste. We even bailed on the fast facts because...
Bailing? Well, we might sprinkle. A little sprinkle-dinkle.
This album is, first of all, it's 12 songs, and some of them have 7 verses in it, and
some of them have 100 words in the title of them. So just reading the words associated with this record alone will take a certain amount of time. There's a minimum that we have to reach and will reach.
Oh my God. Yeah.
We're talking about it. Let's get excited about A Lesson in Romantics.
Jeez.
We're talking about it. Probably one of the more sprinkled in, recommended, suggested, requested episodes based on our survey and through the years on Twitter. Years plural, that's real, not stretching. We've been doing the show for a minute. And it's long overdue, I think, because let's just say it. This album is fucking amazing. It's so good. It's so good. And I guess the main headline for me, just out of the gate, let's just get into it. If there's any qualms or misinterpretations about whether or not Mayday Parade is neon or in some way soft or anything like that, and we'll dive into is this Windows up or Windows down stuff, I guess, in a minute. But squash them. Leave them at the door. This is no place for that. We are ready to gush out of all the places, into all the places. There's going to be gushing, and we're just going to be real happy to talk about this. Really, honestly, hard to comprehend how, re-listening to it this week has been oh my God. I hadn't even really remembered. And I don't know why, because this is up there with the heavyweights in a shocking way. I don't know why it flew under the radar, why we haven't gotten to it, why we don't talk about them more. We did a music video episode for the track 1, the album opener today that we'll get to. There's a couple music videos of note on this record that we'll talk about in a minute. But talk to me. Windows up, Windows down, thoughts on the band. We've talked about them once already, so we won't dive too deep into the history. They're from Florida. The geography of Jamie all over is dizzying, but we'll get to that. And just talk to me. How are you?
Man, I'm in a different space than I was before I started reviewing the album, getting ready for the episode. This was one of my most played records through from 2007, from its release all the way until a breakup in 2012. It followed me through all the angst of first loves, graduating high school.
We're flipping photos face down, man. This is if you're playing the drinking games, I don't forget what the rules are, but one of them is probably drink when somebody either rips, burns, or turns a photo over. And we've got plenty of that to talk about today, no doubt. And I'm very here for it.
Okay, so before we really get too deeply into it, I got to shout out one of the main music Sherpas, Sam Cray. He introduced me to Mayday Parade and All Time Low within the same breath. It was an insane day for me to discover both of those bands, which would have been 2007, I think.
That's pretty insane. That was just a conversation you've had with anybody, really.
Yeah.
Was that one of those things where, because usually people have to remind you about stuff, did you just take that advice and run with it? Because that's given you quite a bit of homework. And he would know, right? He's one of the 5 we talk about most often, I'd say. He was a kid who was in a lot of the youth groups in Erie and was just kind of still a guitar nerd in a very endearing way, but he had his little over-the-shoulder backpack and he had kind of a, I guess, Andrew McMahon golden hair flip situation.
Totally.
And he'd just be pretty unassuming, but then he's secretly jacked and into music and really good at guitar. It's what's your life, man? Like, will you teach me your ways? Like Jack Black going up to KG and Pick a Destiny or something. Just like, I will do anything to be somewhat like you. But yeah, that's pretty good advice. Anyway, he turned us on to this band, which is fitting because we think highly of him, and we think pretty highly of this record. What's interesting about this record is it's actually William Beckett's character from A Little Less 16 Candles music video on the cover.
What?
I'm just kidding. It's just a guy in a bowler hat, but it is kind of eerily similar. And I don't know if I fully grasp what's going on the cover, but it doesn't really matter. It's just one of those ones that's burned into your brain.
It's iconic at this point, for sure.
At this point, you can't go too hype for me this week, Tom. I am, yeah, sure is.
Okay, so my perception of the band, I didn't really know what was going on with them. Sam introduced me to the band. I listened to it absolutely nonstop. I think he might have introduced me when the only single they had out was When I Get Home, You're So Dead. And I didn't really dig it, but then I found some of the other stuff and just like totally fell in love with it. The few memories I have very early on was, it might have been like 2008, I think. Oh, Mayday Parade was touring. I forget who with. And I was really excited to go see them at Forward Hall. I had none of my friends like listened at that time, so I didn't know what their fan base would be like, or whatever. And I pulled up to Forward Hall, and usually, I mean, it was
Let's just back up. You saw them at Forward Hall.
Well, okay. Here's the thing, though. I roll up to the venue, and there was never really a line. Like, it wasn't that type of venue. It was maybe 125 cap venue. And I roll up to the venue, and there is a line out the door, around the corner, and down the street. And I remember thinking, like, my God, I'm going to be the only guy in this venue. And looking back, 17-year-old Tom should have been thrilled about that, being, whatever. Anyways. But I got really worried, being like, oh my God, is it okay that I'm a guy and I love this band as much as I do? Like, it's so stupid to care about this stuff, but I panicked. And I think I may have not even gone to the show.
Oh my God, repressed memory. I can't believe you had a chance to see them probably playing these songs.
I know.
It came out in 2007. We were juniors. We were in our Forward Hall going days. But yeah, we had gone to see All Time Low, me and I think Sam's friend Doug, our friend Doug. And Jacob Gordon. We went to Cleveland to see All Time Low, and we did a similar thing where we were driving by the box office and bailed for similar reasons that we were not proud of, I don't think. So that's why I kind of wanted to open the show with, like, I don't know what it was about that, like, perceived neon, very flawed way of thinking, and it just kept us from seeing the bands we liked play live. But there was something odd about that neon era where it was like some sort of really strange perceived softness that obviously didn't, when we say windows up, windows down, I think that's pretty much just like an oversimplified version of what that kind of thought process is, right? Like, oh, what are you into? It's like, oh, stuff. But it's like, what are you really into? It's just like pretty much only this Mayday Parade record for like 3 or 4 years. Right. I remember when I got your iTunes library, when I accidentally plugged my thing into your computer and I didn't hit the right button apparently.
Just synced everything.
I was like, sync? That sounds like what I'm looking for. And it wasn't, but it helped. It was fine. But you had like bizarrely, I don't know if this was your new iPod or what, but one of the playlists was just named this album, and it was this album. And my sister was looking, you borrowed my iPod for a road trip, and I think I've told this story in the pod before, but her college friends were like, man, Pat must be really going through his teen years a little bit. My sister was in college at the time, because she's like, a lesson in romantics. Did he make a playlist and name it that? I was like, no, I swear I hadn't. But again, there was like that weird shame there. Like, no, of course not. But like, it's the album. It's really good. If like there was no winning that. They were just like, had made up their minds about what had transpired. But it's like, burned by Tom's library again. When really it was only half burned the one time, and it wasn't that big of a deal. And really it only helped because it opened me up to a lot of the music you were listening to at the time.
I'm curious because I've never been a playlist guy. I've never just like sat down and made a playlist. I think I may have made that because at the time, I think it was really hard to delete songs from your library while you were like not at the computer. So I may have made a playlist, which was just the whole album, but I excluded Black Cat because I would always skip it.
We'll get to that in a bit here. But yeah, no, I just remember like, oh, my sister's friends think it's dumb and I must be dumb and oh no, this is the worst day ever. I'm going to go listen to that album to cope with this.
God, the dumbest shit mattered so much.
Oh my God. Oh, deeply, deeply. And with that sentiment in mind, I say we dive in. I say we go for it.
Let's do it. Jamie Lawlover.
Jamie Lawlover, which is a t-shirt you can find on our Teespring site. In a very real way. That's not a bit. I think you said it on accident, but it ended up being the best thing we've ever said on this show by a lot. Jamie Lawlover, again, dizzying geography. Let's just start simple, Tom. Let's take a breath. How do you feel about this song as an album opener?
If this didn't get drafted on at least an honorable mention on our best album openers of all time draft, I think we really f***ed up.
Oh, there's a chance we've f***ed all the drafts up, Tom. I hear stuff on shuffle all the time, and I'm like, miss that. That's for sure. I'm not even sure we had the words best friend become redefined on our riff draft, which is a problem, all right? It's a problem. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about Jamie Lawlover. I knew it as one of the singles first, so I never thought about it in this context very often. And I think you and I are, again, we literally shared iTunes libraries, so I must not have heard a version of the album with Black Cat as track 2 because I'm much less familiar with it. I think it serves the purpose. What's interesting about this music video and this song and the When I Get Home, You're So Dead stuff is, and I think why the legacy of the band itself is a little distorted in a sense. This video shows them in white suits, throwing poker chips around, having a grand old time, kind of a very neon energy to the whole look and feel of the band. And then When I Get Home, You're So Dead, obviously that song has a bit of a different energy to it, and they're in hoodies running around graffitiing shit. So I'm like, no one throughout this entire process had any idea what bucket to put this band in, which 15, 20 years later is fine because it's just good and it was unique in this weird way. And we'll talk about how this album is a little more guitar-y than we thought, and it's a little catchier at moments than we thought, and it's so good and so deep. I don't really blame people for struggling to categorize this band because I think it was as unique as any of these types of bands could have been at the time. It was such an interesting mix of all these different elements. My only flaw here is with this in the video and the way this song is, which is very catchy and very good, it kind of sets the table with the video in mind for something that doesn't paint the band in the right way. But I don't blame anyone for guessing wrong a bunch of times because I don't think anyone knew how to react. They just knew it was really, really terrific.
Yeah, I feel like back in the day, 10, 15 years ago, it was really important to find the perfect genre like description for the band. And if we're just going to try to sell as many t-shirts as we can today, genre is dead. It just doesn't matter. It's super good. And yeah, we were really concerned about like, is this like a girly band or like, is it emo? Is it rock?
Yes, but let's just talk about all of it now in track 1 and then not expand in any of the other songs, which we do with every other album episode, which is why they're kind of tough to pull off. If there's some sort of perceived softness with all of these bands, really, especially All Time Low, who we give a hard time on the show for no real reason, when really, no, we like them. Look, we like All Time Low. We even like them, that's the thing. But they got famous, and this is the only real fast fact I kind of had this week, because we talked about a lot of that stuff when we did Jamie Lawlover. But they were in Warped Tour parking lots in 06, maybe 05, 06, but just pounding it out, pounding literal pavement, just for a chance to drop a fucking banger of a record. And that's exactly how that shit went down. They were in parking lots just busking. And the Warped Tour dudes were like, sure. And then they ended up on a Warped Tour stage, and it, the rest is history, so to speak. He was on, I think, Lead Singer Syndrome is the pod, doing an interview with the lead singer of Silverstein, telling that story. And what more would you want out of your band's success story? Like, I'm not sure where that softness would have come from. Is it the lyrics, you think? Is it it is a pretty emo record, right? Like, we're talking about it on this show, so it must have elements of that. But I don't know if you want to take a stab at that necessarily, but like, revisiting this over the past week and a half or so, I couldn't really find, we'll get to some of the softer middle tracks maybe, and maybe that's where it came from. But maybe versatility was incorrectly perceived as like the softness, which was incorrect to begin with. But I'm rambling. I'll pass the ball back to you. But yeah, help me focus again here, Tom, a little bit.
Well, I mean, let's just start with Jamie All Over. To me, this is just like a pop rock song. It's just straight up rock. And it happens real fast. It stays real hard the whole time. And we have, the first time I ever heard the song, it was like a demo version, and there was not a growl on the, whatever the word is, right into the chorus. It was just like, I don't know, normally sung. And then when I heard the album version where he growls at, rah! It's just like, whoa, like this is fucking rock and roll, bro. Like, it's just
rock and roll, bruv. Buckle in or get out with the car.
I don't know why I just did that.
Me neither. I just yes-handed you. But
I'm just swept away, dude.
I know.
It's a great album opener. It sets, I don't know, not necessarily the tone for the whole thing, like in terms of vibe or emotion, but it certainly lets you know that like we're going to get to a 10 as fast as possible and pretty much keep you there.
Yeah, let's do the God Tier game real quick, which if you just, we haven't done an album episode in a while, so if you're relatively new, we go song by song. There's a little bit of angstometer, there's a little bit of God Tier game, but the God Tier game is essentially, there's 3 levels, the top being like, this is one of the defining songs of the era, more or less. So there's a middle and a bottom tier. I forget what letters or, whatever, but where are you at with Jamie All Over?
My initial instinct was to say God Tier, but I think since there's late album songs that I like more, I have to give it an A+.
I'm going to say God Tier. I'm all in.
Oh.
Hype Train's left the station. It's zipping down the tracks. God Tier. This song's amazing. It's popping up on your YouTube algorithm if you're going down that pop punk emo rabbit hole. And then you click on it, and then more of these songs play, and you're like, oh, wait, these were all on the same album? Hype Train, God Tier. Fully into it. I guess we have one negative, and you were talking about, I guess, the logistics of some of the romantic scenes lyrically might have...
No, it's not a determining factor in how much I love the song. I really love the outro. Jason Lancaster I believe he's the one that has the more dramatic pronunciation of vowels on this album. His brother Daniel sings the end, and the lines are, "We made love by the ocean as the waves crashed around you." I just think there's no way. Like, that is like making love to 80 grit sandpaper. I would imagine. I don't think that's logistically possible. However, the way it's sung, the emotion that it gives off, I am totally here for it. I thought it was like so romantic. It's so like, I don't know. I mean, you see those scenes, even like Blink-182 took a big old dumpy on it in the All the Small Things video.
Follow Tom at thickdumpy on twitter.com. I'll say this. I always make fun of Taking Back Sunday and All Time Low when they get a little too lit class for me, and it's just like, all right, we get it. You've read a book. But this album is worse, but I never feel like they're trying to like prove a point that they've read a book. They're just like, hey, it's a romance novel, and if you're reading it, you're looking for a guilty pleasure, and we're having a good time, and this is great. But I'm not going to try to, there's no airs about it. Like, hey, we're all here for a good time. So like, they do the same stuff I give those bands a hard time for at times, but it's just like, there's no nose in the air about it. You know what I mean? There's no, I guess there's no real lit class energy, even though it gets pretty romantic. It's just down the middle of the plate and very like, I don't know. There's something about it just inherently works. And I was trying to figure that out this week.
Yeah, and it never feels like they're trying too hard at it. It just feels like the words are flowing through them.
Yeah, they're telling a story. They got out of Florida. They don't like Georgia. I would say I'd play the angstometer game for this song. But I don't think it's super angsty, other than that it's like got the trope of they've left a place. They're never going back to Georgia. They're from Florida. They seem to be in the at least Pacific time zone at this point. So, and then they'd like to stay there if they could, it would appear. Yeah, so I'm going to go like maybe a 5 out of 10 on the angstometer, just general getting out of town stuff. There's nothing too
Sure.
drag me through the broken glass type stuff on this one, but
Totally.
we can move along if you want, because this is going to be a long episode like we thought.
Before we move on, we did a whole episode on this song, so I'll link it in the show notes. We talked for 60 minutes on this song alone, so you can find that if you're looking for more.
Black Cat, it's a whoa-whoa song, something that has been done throughout time, especially in this decade, right? I knew I was going to say this only because you and I didn't have it on the playlist. Specifically you and I listen to the much. I am not sure it works as a track 2, considering the strengths that's on this album, but it's a whoa-whoa song. Maybe they wanted to throw one of the more guitar-y tracks in here, because one of my points here is that the solo in this song comes out of nowhere and honestly rips so hard. So I was listening to it really closely this week, kind of for the first real time, thoughtfully anyway. It's not a bad song by any means. I think through the lens of nostalgia, I'm just not as used to it as I am the other one. So I want to give it a hard time, like, oh, this might not work as a track 2. And it may or it may not.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I made a playlist that was just literally this entire album with only this song missing. It's not like bad or anything. I just maybe I don't even like it. I don't know. It's not terrible, but like it doesn't make sense on the record. And there's like a part of me that wonders, like, was the band getting greedy, a little self-indulgent? Like, maybe this would have been a better 11-song album and it would have been more cohesive. Like, I don't know. There was something about like some of Taylor Swift's recent albums, like Reputation. She had songs in the middle of it, like Delicate, which is honestly the best song on the record, but like it like didn't fit really with the rest of it. And I just didn't really understand why they were there. And I kind of get a similar feeling with the song. It's not bad. I'm not going to shit talk it. I'm just going to skip it every time. However, still a good song. I'll give it a C, average.
A little bit of Academy is energy with the jealous actress had a habit of making things sound way too tragic. Yes. A lot of kind of Hollywood stuff, references to Hollywood. So
yeah.
If we're tracking why there would have been perceived softness, if someone came in with a blank canvas and listened to this, they're getting to track 2, or they're already getting maybe too much Hollywood stuff than they wanted to, maybe, and they gave up on the next 8 songs, which are the 8 best songs written in the decade or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe I think there's a mix of like we're not used to it, but also maybe it's not the best track 2, and that's okay because we're about to gloat openly and lovingly over the next 8 songs. But I will say this: the solo rips. Jealous actress stuff, Hollywood is interesting. There's a rock energy that maybe the band wanted to put early on the record. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, when I say the solo rips, he's going to freaking town on that thing.
Right.
On the angstometer, where would you say you're at out of 10 here?
I hate to say it. I'm not even sure if I know the album well enough to like give it a grade. I don't know.
I'm going to say it's at a 7 for me. Because, again, I don't know if I know well enough. But the jealous actress had a habit of making things sound way too tragic. Get out of here with that.
Down,
yeah, it's at least a... Oh, yeah. You know what? You've convinced me. It's an 8. And you can feel at least an 8's worth of angst through the solo that happens in this song. So we'll just keep moving along because we don't know it that well. But I don't think it's a bad song. It belongs on the record. Maybe not at track 2. Tweet at us at _reminiscentfm if you disagree, which I'm sure you do, which is great. Moving on to track 3. When I Get Home, You're So Dead, which angstometer on the song title alone, give me a 10 out of 10. Let's go.
Right. Yeah, this is the album, or this is the song that I heard first, I think. I think this was like the original recommendation. And I remember coming back to Sam and being like, it was okay. It was nothing great. And he was like, just here, okay, here's the rest of the album. Just listen to the rest. And I think it might have been
I had a different one I heard
next.
first, and I'll admit which one that is as we move along. But this would be it's weird. You could enter this, your introduction to this band for any given song on this album alone would have made your experience so vastly different.
Absolutely.
So I think the theme so far is, definitely like, which bucket do we put them in? It's like, well, where'd you start? You know what I mean? We all ended up in the same place 15 years later, but your journey with this band could have been so intense, whether or not it was, well, I'll tell you mine right now, actually. If you wanted a song written about you, all you had to do was ask. I'll talk more about it soon. But with that little bass intro and kind of that, I was thinking your guardian angel almost, or like red jumpsuit vibes when I heard that or something with putting pictures down and stuff. But to hear When I Get Home You're So Dead first, as opposed to Jamie All Over, and the videos alone, again, they're running through this like the skids with hoods up, ready to go to freaking, you know what I mean? It was like a scene out of The Watchmen or something. You know what I mean? Like it was so much more intense than them in white suits. I'm sure maybe the band was confused or something. And that's why I think that solo-filled Black Cat maybe helps pace it at 2 in their eyes or something. That's just a wild guess. But yeah, Angstometer, I'm going to stay at 10 with the Girls Make Boys Cry line. Like, we're in it. It is so 2007 just through the lens of this song alone that I'm very here for it, and I'm very excited to be talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, a couple notes. I think this could have easily been on the drum draft. Everyone in this band is a very talented artist and instrumentalist, singer, musician. No one was just kind of placed there because it was their buddy who happened to play guitar.
Keep the hype train going, man. Yeah, they're good. As a whole, they're good individually. The lyrics are great and fun, and they're playing to each other's strengths. They're letting each other sing. Whoever can carry each vocal part differently. Oh, you got your little growl thing? Yeah, toss in a growl. Let's only try. You know, we've been in parking lots months ago. We're in the studio. We're gleeful to be here, and let's just put the best record forward. And they fucking did. It's amazing.
So again, it's not my favorite song. However, I rarely skip it. Oh,
this is a no skipper for me, man. This is a really strong one.
Really? Okay.
I think it's a very strong. Like they're all like I'm like at least half of these songs. I know we're saying like, oh, it's. I don't know if this is a front to backer. I think there's a few songs on here that I'm not that not like in love with. This is if we're going like total yes or no. This is definitely a yes. I'm gonna say God tier for this one too.
Whoa!
Yeah, I'm here. No, it's on fire. We're on the highway to hell, except it's a train track, and that train is the hype train. And I'm mixing metaphors, but the moral of this story is Black Cat would have been, the lowest tier, I think, if we graded it just for you and me personally. But this one, I'm back in, man. I'm back in. Hype train, God tier, an amazing emo song.
I mean, again, I don't think it fully fits the rest of the album, but if this was another song, just like Take This to Heart, would it have been a little bit too much? Maybe this song fits better in the album than I think it does, but we talked about Where You Want to Be not too long ago. And
I love the TBS parallels because Lipstick Lullabies, just referencing like makeup is definitely a Taking Back Sunday play. So like they're pulling bits and pieces of the bands we love and throwing it together here a little bit.
Well, they have the dual singer and they do it very well.
They do it better maybe at times than, well, I don't really know what the take is I'm delivering here, but they do it very well. They have the capacity to do it better. I don't know about I'm not saying I like them better than Take Back Sunday or anything. I mean, no one's going to jail or obviously we're just two guys doing a podcast that like a small core loyal group of people care about. But yeah, I don't know. When they're firing on all cylinders, watch out for real.
Well, I think the thing about this album is like some late album Taking Back Sunday songs, you kind of have to get through the first third of it, which is good enough, but it's the last 2/3 that just melt your fucking soul. And
you know what is like a third, fourth, or fifth heat to this? You were the first or the last or the worst, just in a vacuum, right? There's a reason Mark Hoppus is famous, right? You think about some of the rhyme. Well, yeah, other than the phrase she said, he has a way of mixing the way the words rhyme in with the melody of the song that is, you can't argue that it's not catchy when he's doing his thing, right?
For sure,
it's just gonna entertain you in a very real way. And I think at times on this album, they're doing some growly sing stuff. They're doing some shreddy stuff. They're doing some catchy stuff. They're doing some this song is very different than Jamie, but it's great. And it's still got some of that catchy. I think the secret sauce for this album is the underlying catchiness of how some of these hooks are. You were the first or the last or the worst. I'm I am not, it's going to take me 10 years to sort through what this sentence means, but I love it.
It's so good. Dude, at the end, we get chugga-chuggas.
Your note?
Oh, dude.
Your note is, quote, chugga chugga, motherfucker. And I agree. I know exactly what you mean by that. And I sign me up. God tier, hype train, keep it rolling.
It's good. This is an A, not an A+, But
Okay, I
think I just
disagree.
get impatient. I get impatient because what I want are tracks 5 through 12.
Let's keep it moving then. Jersey.
Okay.
I think this is just middle of the three. This isn't God tier for me.
Okay.
But it is a 10 out of 10 on the angst meter because they're putting the quote hook where it hurts the most, end quote. They're doing it right in front of our eyes, Tom.
Good.
It's murder. It's robbery in broad daylight. They're describing them doing it to us in this song, which is ballsy, and I got to respect it at the end of the day, to be honest with you. So 10 out of 10 angstometer.
It's super good. I mean, I think they are very good at having like interesting rhythms throughout the verses. Like there's something that I think of like Ocean Avenue. Just every verse is do 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 do, just like unrelenting, but it's so simple and it's so good, and it just keeps the thing driving. It's not drawing a ton of your attention, and I don't think as a 16 or 17-year-old I've realized how fucking good this album is, or like how good of songwriters there are. They know exactly what it's going to take to like keep your head moving through the whole song. I always really appreciated it. And actually, you know, a note about the harmonies, there are just unrelenting harmonies throughout this song. I think it's just a major third above the whole time that he's doing. And I started getting interested in singing around 16, 17. And this song very specifically, with some Rise or Die trying tracks, are like what taught me how to sing a harmony, because it's so loud in the mix and it's not like a counter melody. It's just a consistent third above the melody. This song has a really pretty good place in my heart because of how loud I used to sing the harmonies in my mom's little Honda CRV on the way to and from Edinburgh hangout.
Yeah, there you go. So we got musicianship, we got production in mind, right? And, right, why this record is so good is songs like this, for the reasons that it's possible this record is so beloved for the same reasons Taylor Swift is beloved, and that is the poetry of the lyrics, and we see it from song to song, is so nauseatingly relatable on like a high school level that like, I'll have you know I'm scared to death that everything you said to me was just a lie. Could it be it might even be a lyric from a Taylor Swift song if you took a look through the whole catalog and just rearranged a couple things here or there, right? I'll have you know I'm scared to death. Very like, yeah, I'm 16. I'm in on that. I'm 17. I can relate. That's a can relate for me, partner.
We both made a note about the key change at the end. If we're going for drama, you gotta throw a key change in there.
Any doubt about whether or not this angstometer was below the number 10 out of 10? Then you must not have heard the key change yet, because Jersey just got colder and they're going for it. It's kind of like what people love about Paul Rudd, right? He's never not fully into the bit, whether it's working or not. He's just like, the key change is like, oh, they're in it too. So like they're here for a good time as well, because they just leaned further into this shit, and I am all in. And what's great is we're not even to the best part of the record yet. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, that keychain is going to be followed by 4 of my new top 100 favorite songs of all time. Great. I'm like, so the key change, we can laugh at keychains all we want on the show, and it's kind of like sometimes, I think one of your exes didn't like them so much, but I say, give me this one 10 times out of 10, because it's just like, yeah, no, you know what? That's not even a groaner for me. I'm in. I also believe in that, the way this makes me feel, in the direction this whole thing is headed in.
Yeah, Hannah despised key changes. She refused to listen to this song because of the key change. Like, they literally,
because this one's so unnecessarily dramatic too. It's just like, and Jersey just got cold. I'm like, we're doing it again. We're going back around, baby. Hell yeah.
But I think it's really easy for them to just sound like musical theater corny, and oftentimes they're not gone. It's not a very tactful transition. I think the fact that he sings death, it goes down a bit and it rises up, that means he can land back on whatever note he wants, and it allows a much more smooth transition into the key change than I think most songs get. And I think it's done extremely well. It's not so sudden and abrupt that it's confusing.
So we got lyrics, storytelling, musicianship, production, everyone's good at their instruments, like I said, musicianship, but they have multiple vocalists who can do, people praise, or Vox did this whole like text overlay video on Facebook like 4 years ago, explaining why Kanye's a talented individual, which he is, for using the voice as an instrument. And I think that's kind of like low-key what's happening on this record as well, because they're not just like, we talk about a ton of bands whose vocalists aren't like known for being great vocalists, and that's great, and it's beautiful in its own way, and I am not here to shit talk that. But that's not what's happening here at all. There are multiple individuals in this band that can put some fucking vocals on a track to elevate a song in a major way. And it's a beautiful thing when it's all put together.
Yeah, through this song, I wrote a note that just like, this band is so good at their instruments. Like, there's no weak link in here at all. And it really makes me wonder, like, why I feel this band was so discounted as a legitimate rock and roll band.
It makes no fucking sense. It makes no fucking sense. And here's a quick temp check for all the listeners and you and me right now. Is the hype train still rolling, you think?
Choo-choo, motherfucker.
You bet your ass it is. On to the next one. And guess what the title of the next one is, Tom? Quote, "If you wanted a song written about you, all you had to do was ask." End quote. Do I even have to play the angstometer game with you? Because it's 10 out of 10. Turn it up. The little bass and drums at the beginning, this was the first song of theirs I even heard, which was a pretty unique taste. It just might have happened to be the one maybe I saw the title and was like, yep, sign me up. Anyway, I clicked it and everything made sense. It was a different path to where we are now than you took listening to When I Get Home, You're So Dead first. But yeah, I think here's a quick note I wanted to make about some of the song titles on this album. We were talking about doing a long emo song title draft coming up. Like 4 of these songs would qualify and win.
For sure.
We're not even talking about the final track on this album yet either. But
God. You barely fit into a tweet.
You can barely, that's, we looked it up. It's about 120 characters or so. Old Twitter would have left you maybe 20 or so to elaborate on your point. So, real good, real good. And I hope you like your pictures facing down. I mean, we're talking about 90s era breakup situations here, right? There's no smartphones. And I hate to be like, back in the day, things were great. I never went through a breakup in the 90s. I was like 10 max in the 90s. You know what I mean? I was born in 1990. So like, I'm not even glorifying the old days, but I do think it's funny that there were songs in the iPod era that reference such analog behavior. And of course, these dudes were all like 26, so maybe they went through a college breakup or whatever at the time, right? And when I say these dudes, I mean like at large, right? Probably the average age would have been like when we were 15, Jesse Lacey wasn't 15 alongside us. Right. He was in his 20s. Right. And we can, of course, not relate to any of the shit we listen to, but of course we made it about ourselves. Long emo song title Hall of Fame, and a lot of analog breakup stuff that I was eating up with a knife and a fork slowly, like, yep, I'll sign up for that. That's on me. Yep. Been there, even though I super hadn't.
Oh, dude, this song is out of control. Just
that's a great way to put it.
all the word, like every word in this is, I mean, it is, what did you call it? Art school poetry, but it is so
the late class
flawless
stuff.
And effortless. Like, listen to some of these lines. And you dropped the note and we changed key. You changed yourself and I changed me. I really didn't see us singing through this. Then you screamed the bridge and I cried the verse and our chorus came out unrehearsed. Then you smiled the whole way through it. I guess maybe that's what's worse. It's just like, what?
Yeah, but there's still some of that Hoppus stuff in there. Like the way he's flipping the rhymes. I think there's a catchiness that, again, I do think the special sauce, we keep naming and listing all the things that why this overall album's great. I do still maintain that the secret sauce is there's a catchiness, but it's not like bubblegummy. It's just like there's just and I don't know if it's objective goodness or what, but there's a catchiness that allows this record to like go to new heights in a way that I'm not sure I had heard them living in this subsection of this subgenre to make it so accessible. To me, it was like I could relate to it quite easily for those reasons, I think.
And the bass guitar of this song, okay, so we had some one-note bass parts in the bass draft. If that was allowed, this song should have been in there as well. Just do.
We've botched every draft we've ever done. which I guess I hope is the fun. But
right. Yeah. I mean, it's only 2 notes, but it it is so good. And then
and I hope it makes you happy now. Just the angst
the flame we haven't turned it burning
down.
out, Pat.
Yeah, man. Relatable, good breakup shit.
We've got some like real crucial chickas from the guitar in part 2 of verse 2. And then, okay, so stick with me on this comparison. What does the phrase, "where are you," mean to you?
Tom DeLonge's part in Miss You by Blink-182.
Okay, it's legendary. It is a meme. Where are you? And it's like the really drastic change of like nasal and tone going from Mark's voice to Tom's when he's really hamming up those vowels. And part 2 of the second verse, I really get that same feeling where it switches from Derek, I think, to Jason, I think. And he gets like even more drama when you didn't think it could get any greater. And I think that it's not quite as legendary as verse 2 of I Miss You, but there are some really strong parallels there with me.
Yeah, I'm glad I was so wrong about like a quick knee-jerk Red Jumpsuit Apparatus comparison when I first heard this. I'm like, oh, it's like, to me, it was like another Your Guardian Angel, like an overly dramatic, like start slow, finish big.
Okay.
So wrong. And I'm so glad I was. But you have a note here about, we can't pick enough angsty lyrics from this song alone to just, but you have another one, "Take Me Home, I'd Rather Die Than Be With You." Or no, yeah, I'm reading it right. I thought he wanted to end up with the girl, but he's not happy in this one.
Yeah. Yeah, and like, the choruses, we get some really like high falsetto woes in the last chorus there. It drops down into like a lower chorus for the bridge and just...
You know what I say?
Oh, what?
We always say, oh, it would be great if, Pop Goes did this, or if this punk band covered that pop song. Give me the Taylor Swift cover of A Lesson in Romantics. I think I'll go inverse on this one. I want to hear a pop star take this album to a zany, poppy, a very emotional, almost Red-like, Taylor Swift's Red-like place, because I think it would work in a major way. So I'll go inverse on what I would like to see happen here. No mention of punk goes. But whatever the opposite would be, I'd love to hear it here.
Interesting. Did you pre-order Red, by the way? Taylor's version?
No.
Oh.
I missed that, but I love that album a lot. Sorry. Yeah. We'll talk after the show. Into it. But moving on. Great short. This title's shorter, but just as angsty. Quote, "miserable at best."
Jesus.
Yeah, keeping it going. We talked to Mike Henneberger about this song.
Yeah.
When we interviewed him about his book, Rock Bottom at the Renaissance. There's a whole chapter, and I'm sure there's a whole chapter of a lot of our listeners' lives that revolved around whoever the fictional, or maybe not so fictional, Katie is in this particular song. But they slow it down here.
Yeah, and it's a rare song that starts slow and ends slow. Like, I think there is...
This is the new American classic of this album.
Well,
Not to draw too many unnecessary Taking Back Sunday comparisons, but
even that ends a little bit bigger, though. I mean, this is just piano and just a voice the whole way through. It doesn't have a big build or a swell, and it ends
just a guy
full
with
band.
A song to sing, Tom. Just a guy with a song to sing,
with a broken heart and a song to sing. So this song reminds me of Breaking Up.
Just a guy with a broken heart and a few keys to tap on.
So this song reminds me...
Have a seat, I'll tell you a story. I'll stop, I'm sorry.
When I got to that chapter in Mike's book, it really kind of hit me because this was an album that I really enjoyed with Megan. And she introduced me to Go Radio.
One?
Yes, one. Megan won. And when we broke up, this song just was there for me when I needed it the most. It was pretty quick to get over that relationship, but for the first like 2 weeks, it was a lot of this song and me singing both parts and just being like, yeah, I can get through it, but it is going to be the worst. It takes me to it takes me to a pretty rough place these days. I was in sophomore year of college, I think. And I was just like not having a great time. It's before I really had like the job that I loved. It's before I was like in a band, and I really had like nothing other than this long distance relationship, and it went down in flames. And so this song kind of gets me into a weird place, but it's very, very well done. Great dual vocals. Again, when people talk about like bands with two vocalists that do it very well, why does no one talk about this band? It makes me so angry.
I was going to say, this is a straight up duet. I'd almost want to hear like, it's 3A, or what's that country song where it's like,
oh shit!
And I need you now. Like I'd listened to, I don't know if it was fucking Randy Travis or Shania Twain or whoever did that. I don't know who did that to it. I'm sorry, but they should do this song. Like I'm telling you, any other genre should be re-recording these songs for any cover compilation.
Punk
I would
goes
love to
Mayday,
hear it.
or no, Pop goes Mayday.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, or the world goes Mayday. I would just love to hear everybody take great stabs at all this, because to be honest with you, it's just a good song. They even, and you made this note as well, they even do la-da-das at the end. They're just,
yeah.
That's the thing. You talk about the key change in Jersey. Let's talk about the la-da-das and Miserable at Best. Like, they're so committing to the bit that it's hard not to admire it. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like, la-da-da. They're just like singing a song. It's a duet. It's just a beautiful song.
Yeah.
And, it's a heartbreaking one. It's interesting. I'd never heard that personal anecdote of yours. When those situations arise, and we don't have to spend too much time with this necessarily, but are you thankful it was there for you? Do you think it made it worse a little bit, or like a strange mix of both?
Probably a strange mix of both, yeah.
Yeah, I think we talk about that a lot on the show, but it's kind of like either this was helping me or hurting, or it was just something that needed to happen.
Right.
Like it would have been, So we'll call it therapeutic and keep going. But I have the lyric, she'll say yes after the person gets the nerve to walk the floor and asks this girl to dance as my angstometer lyric. But do you want to give a quick angstometer grade?
Yeah, so to me especially, that is an 11 out of 10, because the reason that girl and I broke up is because she was falling in love with other men while she was still home. And I knew that she was like going to shows with this one guy. And I just knew that it was like, they'll ask her to dance or, go to the show, and she would say yes, and eventually I would be phased out, and that's exactly what fucking happened. So it was brutal. It was so brutal. Like every word of this song was too relevant, and it sucked, but I love it.
Yeah, when we first started doing the show, we talked about boy in point A, girl in point B.
Yeah.
Boy, girl A, girl B, girl A, boy B. Just kind of like basic, like, I guess, like fictional, like, like pieces to play with or whatever. I didn't think we were going to talk about Taylor Swift this much today, but there is some very, this song in particular, it's just like, everyone needs a good breakup song, I guess. You know what I mean? Like that, I guess it never gets old. Like, what came first, the music or the misery? Not to mention High Fidelity every week, which is going to happen, I guess, whether we like it or not. It's subconscious at this point, but it's just sort of like that sort of storyline is like, there's always going to be someone at that age who needs some form of that, I would imagine.
Yeah.
I'm going to go God tier on this one and the last one if we didn't do it, but
sure, yeah.
I'm going to say third tier for both of those, because we're reaching a stretch of the album that is pretty redonkulous.
Insanity.
And they take it to lows here. But the hype train has not stopped, I wouldn't say, because we're getting to my favorite two aquatic theme songs in the emo verse. And we'll start with this next one, Walk on Water or Drown. A lot of water over these next two, but that doesn't necessarily mean we're not having a good time.
All right, I know that the episode is usually done by now, but people, we are only halfway through, so I hope you're buckled up for our top tier Patreon supporters, our Council of Elders. In this group, we have Andre Prevost, Johnny Leftwich, Jason Carey, Anonymous, Chris Lukey, Nathan Eshelman, Drew Edwards, and Carrie Sanchez. Thank you all so much for supporting the Patreon. Thank you to the many of you who are supporting this show. It truly means the world. I am just about to upload a 70-minute video vlog of all the spots in the town where Pat and I grew up in Erie, Pennsylvania. The first place we met, houses that I lived in that our band practiced in, places all over the city that really mean a lot to us. That's going to be exclusive in the Patreon. So if you'd like to see that and get the episodes early, behind the scenes photos and videos, check out patreon.com/reminiscent. Again, thank you to everyone who has already signed up, and thank you to everyone who is listening through this crazy long episode, which we'll get back to right now.
My note here is this album just goes stronger and stronger as you go, man.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, we haven't even reached the pinnacle yet. We're just climbing up steadily.
And we're nearing 60 minutes, by the way.
So, well, let's try to keep it rolling
started.
here.
We're just getting started. Okay.
But that's what I'm saying. This hurts me more than I can say in just one sitting.
Oh,
and then I fell into pieces and she fell into me saying, play me a song. It's been too long since I've heard you sing. This is the song to me where it's like, oh, this shit's really catchy. This shit is really, really good. And those were my lyrics for if you wanted to give it, if you don't mind giving me a quick angst meter grade and God tier grade.
I'll give this one a 9. And it's God tier, but I actually forgot this song existed. So
that's the beauty of this album is
there's so much.
Oh my God, I thought these 3 were one, and there's 3 of them, and they're all great in their own way.
Yeah, I mean, I could not place this song until I heard the chorus, and then it all came back to me. I'm not really sure how I forgot this one existed, but I'm so glad it's here. It is incredible. I mean,
and they, I guess the most neon thing about this album is they do something that I think All Time Low has done, but obviously people throughout history have done, where it's just vocals over the drums, but they keep the beat going, and I fell into pieces, and then they bring the guitars back, and
with
it's
with the claps,
yeah, oh yeah, right,
oh yeah, dude, yeah, the bridge is the mellow chorus, it drops down, you get the claps, you get the audience participation, and then it goes into a different part of a bridge, and then an even bigger chorus. I mean, they have a formula for their songs. It never gets stale, it never feels like
I don't know if it's a formula, man. I think we've, Cartel, it's a formula, and it worked on us. I'm not sure I'm getting that from song to song on this album. I just think they're just good songs. You learn a thing or two, I guess, needing to get people's attention in parking lots over the years. So
yeah.
I imagine this is just one of those things where you release a first album that's great because you've been touring, quote unquote, touring with these songs for so long, right? Something like that.
Also, speaking of touring, we skipped the fun facts, but this whole album was written while they were on tour, and it's the underlying storyline is about missing a girl while you're on tour and on the road. We hear that story a lot, and they made a whole album out of it, which is just what a gift. We get double kick in this song, and it is just this. Oh, dude, this band just throws the down on everything in every way. Just.
I'm going to give the song an A, and then give it I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10 on the X, because this is just more a fun song. I don't know if it's you who brought this up. It's songs that talk about songs being written or something. Is that a you thing?
Yeah.
I think it works here in a lot of ways, and it's just kind of inviting the crowd to be like, hey, we're singing a thing. Come on, play me a song. It's been 2 songs since I've heard you sing. But this is the same band that just a few songs ago said put the hook where it hurts the most. So they're kind of just and again, that's an interesting fast fact to drop at this moment, because they're on tour, very involved in the music and everything. So maybe there's a phone conversation where I'm sure he was trying to serenade whoever he was talking to. Maybe not. I don't know.
Well, also, so it didn't stand out to me in this song, but I think the thing that really bothers me about a self-aware song is when they say this song is about, or and now for this verse, or, when it's specifically, it's saying sing me another song, but it's not saying this is the song I sang to her. It's acknowledging the fact that they are songwriters, but it's not, maybe it's just the phrase, this song.
Oh, do you think this song's about meeting a new person while on tour? I'm not sure he's talking to the girl at home on this one. Someone trying to cheer him up and get him to play after a show, maybe, or something.
Interesting.
And she fell into him.
Oh, you know what? Because I think the phrase "walk on water or drown" is really interesting because, like, you're not going to walk on water. So, like, it's basically saying this can only go poorly.
Well, it's the it is a valid criticism of attempts to do distance. You're going to need to pull off a fucking miracle for it to happen. The way you think it's going to when you start. And you have been on record on the show here as describing what that feels like, and it rarely goes well. Sometimes it does, which is a great thing. But yes.
But usually it doesn't.
Usually you drown, you know.
Right. All right.
Okay, Ocean and Atlantic.
Whoa. Talk to me about track 8. Do you remember?
You talked to me about track 8.
So when
the track 8 theory lives.
Well, actually, no, it's the opposition of the track 8 theories. So when I was, for the few months that I worked with Taylor Larson, there was a band from West Virginia called Curses, and they are absolutely incredible dudes, really heavy music with the really like singy choruses, just really great guys. And they had a 10-song album they were recording with Taylor. And I remember the way that the album happened was Taylor was like, write 25 songs in a year. Come back next year, I'll pick the best 10 out of the 25 and put them on the record. So Taylor picked which songs were going on the record, and he picked one that the guys didn't really love, but Taylor believed in it. And his like exact words were for the track that they didn't like, put it on track 8. That's the spot where everyone puts the songs that they don't care about. And throughout the course of this show, we have seen some of the best songs of all time be a track 8. So I just think it's interesting that it was just like a throwaway comment that he said, but there have been so many, like all the small things is a track 8. So
which might have been one that they didn't care about because it was, you know, Blink likes to write the ones that they think is a little too cheesy. They call it like the radio hits, tongue in cheek, but they don't care about it if they also believe in it. So I like the theory where a little under the surface of that comment, it's kind of like, everyone kind of low-key believes in this one, even though we don't know in minutes, so we put it at track 8. You know what I mean? Like, this might be the best song on the record, and it sometimes super is.
Oh, it absolutely is.
Yeah, I don't want to say the majority of the time, but there's been some terrific ones. So I like that as the slot of, like, almost like the real ones know to a degree, right? Like, oh, it's the back half of the album thing, it doesn't matter. But really, this is the one that we were kind of hoping was the hit that the label didn't love. You know what I mean? We would have put this track 1, track 3, track whatever. Interesting. I like that. I think this is, I'll just drop the take. It's the best song on the album for me.
Yes.
Pound for pound. I love it so much. I mean, Angstometer, I'm going to give it a solid 8 out of 10. I'll run until my feet don't touch the ground, and as the waves carry me out, keep listening. She'll never make a sound. Yeah, it's nothing like a good just go into the ocean song. I guess. I don't know how many there are necessarily. I know Frightened Rabbit has one, but
thank God.
You know, it's like, again, this the relatable poetry thing, but also this song fucking rips, man. Enough about the poetry. This song is explosively, intoxicatingly, not to do the Michael Scott thing where you start a sentence and don't know where it's going halfway through, but it's explosive. It's TNT, man. It's I remember just blaring this. I was seeing a girl. I was working at the Civic Center in Erie, and I'd go after Otters games, and sometimes she would have had food there from when her parents ate, but they would go up to bed or whatever, and we'd hang out in the living room and just eat and just have like a nice time. It only lasted for like 3 to 5 weeks, but it was a nice little time. And then I'd drive home feeling pretty pumped about the whole thing and just blast this song. Probably Walk on Water or Drown into Ocean in Atlantic, but just pretty blaring, just air drumming while driving, which is not safe. Would not recommend, especially on the interstate. But just getting hype, just feeling on top of the world after something good happens as a teen and you're feeling free, something crazy has happened. And it's just, I know the Angstometer's lyrics, well, you know, I might drop it down to like 6 because the song doesn't feel that angsty. I don't know. Help me out here. Sort through this. God tier song, by the way.
First of all, who is the girl?
A girl named
Oh, okay. Very cool.
Thank you. No, I don't know. I think we were both had been involved with others and then just spent some time being friendly for a minute. And it was a nice time.
She was awesome. So this song, when I played it today, I'm not sure what was going on, but I was just like, okay, a lifetime of difference between when I was first listening to the song and now. My wife was finishing up some work and I was like doing tummy time with my 4-month-old baby. So like I am no longer 16 pining after a girl that I will never get, but I still teared up listening to this song. There's like something very deeply seated in me, and I just I may
talk
have
about a
mentioned
halftime
it.
chorus, dude. Just talk about
Oh
it.
my god!
Oh my god, man! That's the whole point of the show. The whole thing that we do here is love halftime choruses. That's the whole thing, man. That's the whole fucking thing, and it works on us every time. But this might be the best one of the decade. It might be. It might. I think it is. I'm on the hype train.
There's
really
no
good, slowing
man.
down. It's so good.
So like every time I listen to the back half of this record, and I've told this about other bands as well, but it's very much I'm on my way back from the Edinburgh Hangout, which was like the just absolute best place in the world when we were teenagers. It was like a 30-minute drive to like a college town, 20 miles south of where I lived. And I was good friends with some people from our school, but all of like the people who understood my soul, I would only see at the Edinburgh Hangout maybe every 4 weeks at a show there. And Ocean and Atlantic is me in winter in my mom's Honda CRV that had a weirdly good sound system, just at a red light about to turn onto Kearsarge by the Mill Creek Mall to get on Peach to get back to my house, and just screaming this, probably because there was a girl that I saw at shows who I was just like hopelessly in love with, and it was never going to happen. And this song just puts me there and it rips me to pieces.
Yes, that's what the album does, I think, overall as well. I'll say this as well. For any neon confusion, the printout Paper Rockstars line in this song, I like a lot, because we're talking about the Parking Lot Boys throwing shade at, the Flashover Substance dudes. And from my memory, and I could be wrong, they were perceived as a Flashover Substance band, perhaps at the time, given all the stuff that was going on. I mean,
yeah, probably.
You and I have, and others have probably sorted through it. And I think the hope of this episode is like, hey, let's just appreciate what the this was for what it was. An amazing, deep, incredibly compelling, catchy, rocking ass record. But it's interesting to me that they, at the time, who maybe would have been perceived as more of a neon-y band or whatever, threw some shade at Printout Paper Rockstars here. Because I'm like, yeah.
Pin up Paper Rockstars.
Would the meaning of even though I misheard the lyric, would the meaning change? I'm actually curious.
I don't think so at all. I don't think so.
Okay. So yes, I'm admitting I misheard it, but I'm like, okay, would that change what they're trying to get across here? I heard it as printout, like these dudes are just actors.
Yeah,
as Max Bemis would say, what is it? Actors who they taught how to play guitar or whatever, right? Or models who they taught to read and whatnot.
No, absolutely. I mean, I always feel like Mayday Parade was pinned as a band that was, I mean, I think Flashover Substance is probably the best way to put it. Like they had long hair, they were all fucking gorgeous, and
that was working against them. They had the look of one, right?
Right.
Which is not fair, but that's just the way it was.
But they are, I mean, as legitimate as any other band out. I don't know how many times I can keep saying it. Like,
let's just keep saying it.
They are putting their bassist to work on this song, and he is just slamming it. Dude, the drummer is we just did the drum draft. We talked about underrated drummers. I'm going to throw this guy's hat into the ring for super underrated drummers. Jason Bundrick just slamming those fucking probably SJCs. Oh, you know what? While we're talking about SJCs, I've told it before, but when I was in the band, The Good Fight, our drummer was just like a trust fund kid, and SJC was selling one of Mayday Parade's touring drum sets, and he fucking bought it, and it was like $9,000 used, and
oh my god,
I know it was one of his 4 drum sets. And it was a frosted black acrylic that you could plug into the wall and they lit up. And it had these massive, like 9-inch wood butcher hoops with like spray painted vines down it. But like it was Mayday Parade's drum set for a tour, and my band had it. And it was the most incredible thing ever. I'll put links in the show notes. I mean, it was a serious drum kit. It sounded so sick. And our drummer did not deserve it. I'll say that much.
Well, enough about him. I will just repeat that this is the best song on this album.
Yes.
And tweet at us if you disagree, because you're wrong. Moving right along to another tremendously lengthy but beautifully angsty song title, quote, "I'd hate to be you when people find out what this song is about," end quote. Talk to me about angst, Tom.
So this is probably the song I sang the loudest in the car. I also have a story, you talked about like, is this a Windows Up or Windows Down band?
The thing is, the last song was the best, but this one
is also the
higher.
Best.
Because when you talk about emotional heights, but I think I know where you're headed. It's Windows Up because you don't want a noise ordinance situation. You don't want the city to fine you based on how loud, because people are going to hear it through the windows anyway, especially when you get to this part of the album.
So, okay. When I was in college, we were talking about reference tracks, which is when you're mixing an album, it's nice to have a point of reference to make sure you're not getting like too off track. So we had to bring in a song that we loved, that had production that we loved. And this is probably 2012 because I was in Studio A. This would have been my junior year of college, maybe late 2011. I brought in this song and we were supposed to listen to everyone's full songs. And I remember my professor turning it off halfway through and was like, I mean, come on, how many times can they jump the shark? Because this song is at a 12.5.
Oh my God.
Like in terms of angst, in terms of just raw emotion, in terms of sound coming out of the speakers.
Give me God tier. Give me 10 out of 10 angst. They're not pinch harmonics. What are they, Tom?
I think they are.
Okay. They are firing on all cylinders. They're just like, give me another one. Another one. It's like they're torturing the audience. It's like one of those those tests in Psychology 101 where they're like secretly zapping the dude and you have to like, you're in a room and you have to learn how to react or whatever. But everyone's just like, everyone involved is more into it. They're like, another pinch harmonic. And it's just like, oh no. You gave the kids something to cry for and they're super into it actually. So,
right.
uh-oh. This actually is a great album. I don't know if we thought this was a joke at first, but no. Yeah, if they hadn't jumped the shark yet, they're soaring over one of those Jurassic period megalodon, whatever, horror movie mouth the size of the continent of Australia size sharks. And they're just flying through the air, their gorgeous dumb hair flopping in the wind.
As they're
just
soloing.
Yeah, like in a Mad Max style, like flames coming everywhere, like very guitar-y, very insane.
But it works.
This is a guitar-y record.
Works.
Oh my God, does it works. Emotionally coming off of the song where they talk about asking the girl to dance crossing the floor or whatever.
Oh, Jesus.
Miserable at best. They go down for a second and sing a nice duetty ballad or whatever. And it's just to the moon, man, after that. Over the next, it's like an insane run of songs. What is that, 3 or 4 tunes?
Yeah, it's brutal to live through this song every time.
That's one of the most, like, people always say the 3-song run game or 4-song run. I'm not sure you're topping this one, man. I think there's like a multiple way tie for first or whatever. But I mean, show me which ones are competing but do you need the first part of the album to get to the headspace to appreciate these three, or do they speak for themselves? No,
Dude,
okay,
dump
I agree.
me right into it. If they only gave me
dumpy right on into it.
If they only gave me an EP with these 4 songs in a row through Take This to Heart, I would still be the happiest man alive. If it was half an album from Miserable at Best on, it would still be a perfect record. Like, it is just everything you need.
A little bit of the growly vocal. We may stay there forever. And never let go. It's just, it's they're tying in so many things that like cut to the core of people over the last 40 years, whether it's Taylor Swift storytelling-ish type stuff. But this is almost like, I'm into this the way people were into 80s glam metal or something. I'm just like, rock the out, motherfucker. You know, it's like, like this is absurd and a spectacle, but it's beautiful. It's Paul Rudd selling out and just groaning his way through 4 minutes worth of Wet Hot American Summer in that cafeteria. Everyone's committing to the nth degree, and it just works in a way that is, you don't even want to try to describe it or explain it almost.
So I think the thing that's so beautiful in awe-inspiring about this song, so like we get the first verse, it is absolutely beautiful, clean guitar work, and the drums, I mean, it's a real slow tempo song too. And
what's that thing where they dance up the fret where it's like
oh yeah,
like really kitschy rock operas have it where it's like
and he does it again. Just like, oh my God.
It's like this could be on the Jesus Christ Superstar soundtrack. And it would do well there.
But like, dude, so the verses, it's beautiful, clean guitar. The drums are doing this really awesome offbeat hi-hat. I talk about, like, someone asked on a Patreon AMA, like, what is the first thing you notice when you hear a song? And it's like the tempo and the way my head is unable to stay still while listening. And this is a song where it's like my whole body is convulsing as I'm like, my head is nodding to the verse of this. But then the chorus comes in and it is just at an 11. It drops down, and then, like you said, that big sweep up the fretboard into the solo, and it's just like, what the how does this make sense?
It's like he's pointing, he's about to, someone in the crowd's like, no. He's like, oh yeah. You're like, no, you can't. You simply mustn't. He's like, I'm gonna. And everyone's like, it's like in the SpongeBob movie when he's wearing that thing and he floats into the air and he's just like pointing at people as they like explode, or, you know, just like, it is the most, I don't know. It's insane and so absurd, but so delightful. And I almost can't, my emotional intelligence stops here for the rest of the record. I will admit.
Really?
I am familiar with the next few songs we're going to talk about.
Oh, I'm just getting started at this point in the album.
I'll let you carry the torch a little bit further. But for me, it's almost like I need to take a breath. I've never really fallen as in love with what's about to come next. I just want to have a warning to the listeners. But right. What a 3-song run! I'm exhausted just talking about it. I'm sweating as I sit here, and let's keep it going here. The hype train has not stopped, though, by the way.
I would extend that 3-song run into Take This to Heart. This is probably my first favorite song on the record.
Tell me about it, stud.
I got chills!
We're getting a little musical theater-y here, which is probably what Mayday would have wanted.
Right. So, okay. Yes, this is probably the one that stuck out to me the most, specifically because of the chorus, but it starts like, I don't know, man, like I'm floundering to just like express how much I love this record, because I feel like I'm saying the same thing about every single song. It's just so fucking incredible. The verses are so catchy, and the drummer just super fucking knows what he's doing. They're getting you to just bob your head a little bit, and then they twist the knife in the chorus, and we get that coming home tonight, and he holds out the night. They do the little vibrato up and down, and this to me is another angstometer 10 out of 10. It's God tier, just like the last song. It was always, I remember like having an internal like battle with myself in my mom's car. Do I love Take This to Heart, or I'd Hate to Be You, and people find out what the song is about? Like, which one do I actually love more? To me, it was very important to know which one was actually more intense and emotional. I think it's the previous song, but this is another one that really, really, really takes me away. I don't know, man. The speed, the whole like emotion of the song just comes to a head in the chorus, and it just guts me, man. Like,
let's do a quick angstometer check. For God tier, for me, I'll give it a solid A.
Okay.
God tier, not so much. angstometer though in the lyrics?
I'll give it a 10. I don't know, man. And
Maybe not. Okay, because I'm the mess, and you know that I can't help it. The drive home never seemed so long before.
Yeah,
they're playing. If they want to score a 10 out of 10, they're putting in the work. So I can't say I disagree.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, maybe not necessarily like the lyrics itself, but
no, I'm agreeing. I'm saying like,
right.
Yeah, no, that all the emo stuff is there. So you're not wrong.
I mean, the bridge. One more night and we'll go spinning around the room and dance with our hearts on fire because every song is ours tonight. Like, this is such unbridled, like, teen high school romance. And if you love me so, I'm going to tell the whole world that it's the greatest thing that's happened to me. I finally found a reason to come home. Yo, that is some gnarly shit. I mean, high school romance is so loaded. You will never find anything like it. It is life or death. It is, you're walking on water at this point, and they are just leaning into it. Like, this is a hopeful love song after so much tragedy, so much heartache in the previous songs. It's like nice to feel something, but again, they don't quite have it. He's like on the edge of actually feeling this, right? Like, he's about to get home and experience this, but that longing, especially when like when I was a senior in high school, my girlfriend was in college and it was 500 miles away. When I was in college, my girlfriend was in high school and that was 500 miles away. It's always been long distance with me, and it's always been, I cannot wait. Like, I'm just living until we are together again. And this song just got me. Damn, dude. I said I'm coming home tonight. Just, if we can just hold out a little bit longer, it'll all be
very
good.
Relatable. All the things that make this great are still in play this late in the album. And it's not just like, oh, this album's still pretty good. It's just like, oh no, and I will say this though, will you at least meet me this far as we move on to maybe Champagnes for Celebrating, parentheses, I'll have a martini in parentheses. We talk about, I think Taking Back Sunday is top of mind because we did a draft and we touched on a few of the elements of where you want to be, which some of the people had asked for, some of the listeners, that is. That one concludes at it builds up until the last song. Will you at least hit me where like maybe at least the last two songs aren't as high as that 3-song run, 4-song run?
I think the last song is equal to I'd Hate to Be You when people find out what the song is.
Oh my God. I'm just going to keep letting you talk. This album had a much deeper... Well, it's interesting. I think we were almost hit by different parts of it, but you were in, when you listened, you stick to the end and are fully in it mentally and emotionally.
I'm here for the end. Like, it is just...
I'm going to give the angstometer at least a 9. They used the word tourniquet in this fucking song.
And also, it's a girl leaving on a train. Does that even happen anymore? Was it happening in 2007? Lots of crumpled up pieces of paper, flipping photos upside down, leaving on a train. Like, Jesus Christ, man. It is, this is some 1950s fucking drama here.
It is some 2007 drama. I think like we're recording this and I'm on Twitter looking at some of the stuff the Reminisces and Reminephews and Reminasties and Reminectarines and Reminecties are talking about. Adrian had just tweeted us while we were recording and was like talking about the 2006 draft we did. He was saying 2006 ended up, my draft ended up being 30 songs. 06 was bringing some heat. And I was thinking about that. It was like after A Fever You Can't Sweat Out came out and allowed people to get weird, and before the Neon era came through, 06 and 07, I mean, those are the peak weird years, I'd have to assume. So like this is a very much an 07 record with people on trains turning pictures down. It's some emo stuff, walking on water, walking into the ocean aimlessly until you drown. Like if you picture that 11-year-old kid in the rain and that meme that we talk about on the show a lot, it doesn't get, that's the equivalent of what they describe on this album, just walk into the ocean until you die. So we're in it. I think this is, when we're in it, this is the it we're talking about. Maybe even this record specifically.
Yeah, yes, for sure. Yeah, I think... I maybe will give it to Panic at the Disco 2005. There was a lot of Yeah, like there was just a different vibe happening in the lyrics of songs, and people were being, I feel like, a little bit more creative, a little outlandish, a little more out there, and a little more able to like lean into like themes in the songs that may or may not be from like the right time period. But I mean, some of those classic like romance stories were written hundreds of years ago or like decades ago or whatever. So like, yeah, it. Leave on a Train if you want. It was probably a used Nissan Altima, but like, we'll call it a train for this song. We can experiment. We can be artistic.
Oh yeah. This song is about me. Make no mistakes about it.
Right. There's a record on the stereo, like a literal vinyl record. Plays her favorite song for 2 whole days, and the drag stretched out for miles and miles. And what she'd give,
I knew
one more
you
smile.
Referenced that lyric. I knew it because you listen to songs for days, plural. Which you're not alone, but that's some stuff there.
Yeah, I mean, this is an A song for me. I think it's a very good penultimate track on the record. It's really, really good, but it's not really one that rips my heart out. The last one is definitely a really big one for me because,
Should we talk about it?
Yeah,
Are we there yet?
Again, yeah. So we're jumping the shark, a whole song, and it is just at an 11, unrelenting, unapologetic, and somehow the sons of bitches pulled it off. It's just perfect.
Do you want to read the entire final song title?
All 104 characters.
Take a deep breath.
Take it. You be the anchor that keeps my feet on the ground. I'll be the wings that keeps your heart in the clouds.
There you go.
What?
There you go. Also, if you don't think the production played a role in why this works so well, listen to the demo version of this song and then listen to the album version.
Yeah.
And there is that played a part, and I think we're addressing it today, obviously. Like, they're not alone in that. I'm just saying, like, I think everything came together because I don't know who... did you look up who the producer was, by the way? Can we give that a shout out real quick?
Listen to this. It's a production team, Zach Odom and Kenneth Mount, who produced all of Cartel's records, The Somerset, Set It Off, Divided by Friday, Every Avenue, All Time Low, Bedlight for Blue Eyes, Jimmy Eat World's Futures, Gulp.
No.
And some fucking normies like Dave Matthews, Whitney Houston, Ludacris, Jamie Foxx, Puff Daddy, Elton John, all of whom couldn't even dream of writing an album like A Lesson in
Okay, relax. We were going to have an episode where we got along for the whole time. And you had to get a shot in there.
Yo, no, but seriously, like, if you think of, like, okay, Every Avenue, All Time Low, Bedlight for Blue Eyes, Cartel.
I like that when you have weird music takes about, like, artists outside of the genre, you make it so absurd and go after people like Ludacris Elton John. And Whitney Houston, for that matter. Like, okay.
Well, I got to tell you what, man, we're not talking about them on the show. They're not writing these hits, but
that's true. We are talking about a very specific problematic genre.
But I mean, these producers are working on other bands that just, like, I feel like Mayday Parade might be like this amalgamation of every single artist that these producers worked with and, like, just gave them all the tricks, and they put it all together. Like Bedlight for Blue Eyes, how 2007, 2008. I mean, they produced all of the biggest acts of 2007 and 2008. And I feel like it did Mayday Parade a whole lot of good. If you watch Mayday Parade's Audiotree live session from like 4 or 5 years ago, they are so severely talented, but the production, if it's not built together as like a full picture, it can definitely suffer. No matter how good the performance is, no matter how good the songwriting is, a production can make or break it. And the production of this album is a fucking flawless 10. It's so good.
Yeah. Everyone in the room was doing their job really well.
Yes, for sure. For sure. So this song starts with like a very deep inhale before the lyrics start. And it's just like, oh, we're here. Just
in case you haven't been paying attention to the last, Yes, several tunes that were a little bit weighty emotionally. This one might get you.
So we get a deep breath as if the weight of the entire planet is resting directly on his chest. And honestly, I've been begging for answers that you and only you can give to me. My voice crying loud. I've been crying for days now. And as I start to run, I stop to breathe, which like, okay, I'm not a lyrics guy, whatever. I could give you every fucking word on this album. I've listened to it so much. I love that line. And as I start to run, I stop to breathe. Cause it's almost like I just started. It's like, you know what? It's like, it's not even worth it. I can't even go through with this. And I was nearly scared to death the way it's sung by What You Left in Paragraphs, which is just like such an artistic way of saying, talking about writing a note on a piece of paper. I don't know, man. It's just, it starts off real low. Apparently, the chorus of the song draws parallels to Edgar Allan's poem, A Dream Within a Dream, which the original emo goth kid. This is just, that's exactly how the song plays out, man. It is been crying for days now. Tell me once again that you'll love me to death, and should I die, you swear that you will come for me. As I fade away, you reach out your hand, and please don't let me go. Like, what? Jesus, dude. It is just, it's fucking gnarly. More lyrics about oceans. The chorus of this, I mean, this whole song is up, down, and all around. It is
the energy we talked about earlier on Miserable at Best. It's just like, hey, bud, got a minute? Because I got a story to tell. You know, that's what this album is just like. Yeah, I've seen some things, and I'd like to sing about it now if y'all would do me the kind gesture of just having a listen.
I think the thing that really gets me about the lyrics on this song is like, especially if you pay attention to pop lyrics, I feel like every two lines is kind of a slightly different thought, or it's a different part of the story. And I mean, Mayday Parade is very verbose in their songs, and I don't mean that in a negative way. They say a lot, and I feel like it is a complete chronological story, start to finish. Every word further explains why you've never felt pain this deeply before. And there's just like more and more answers every time, more questioning, and it just never lets you go for a second. It's so descriptive and poetic. I'll be here by the ocean just waiting for proof that there's sunsets and silhouette dreams. My sandcastles fall like ashes of cigarettes and every wave drags me to sea. Like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
How do they do this? How is this physically possible?
Give me an angstometer score for this last one.
A 10. All the way
God tier?
through. Yes, absolutely.
Wow. Would you say that the hype train never stopped?
It unrelenting, dude. It was just
unrelenting. Choo-choo. I'm with it. I'm here. I agree. I'm not here to just disagree with you in the last minute. This hype train's been running.
Off the tracks, man. Straight through the town, flattening everything in its sight. I mean, it is just...
it's into space. It jumped the shark and kept going up towards space.
So, so like, again, as I fade away, you reach out your hand, and then like the please don't let me go. And his voice gets so high, and you're like, okay, holy shit, I need to take a breath. And then they just do another chorus, and it's like, I don't know, man. What's that scene with the dude in the electric chair, and you could see his bones glowing through his body and the hair is up? It's like, this is me listening to every chorus in this song, because there's like 9 of them. And
I guess people were knocking it because of how dramatic it was, but for a certain subset of teens, it was just like, what do you mean too dramatic? Like, this is the fucking vibe, man.
Yeah, dude, it is horrific that even, I don't know, we had talked about doing like a guilty pleasures draft, but at 30, I don't feel guilty about fucking anything.
Right.
It just doesn't matter. But like Mayday Parade, I did not, it was windows down until I realized that like other people thought it was lame because it was too heavy or too emotional or whatever. And it is.
What a shame for them.
It is. I know. I mean, it's at a 10. I'm not going to sit here and say that this album is not, angstometer needle through the fucking edge of the of the thing,
every method of measurement is broken at this point, but we're standing there and it's
but it feels so natural, and I feel like no one else could have pulled off these words, these melodies, these harmonies, 9 choruses in one song. And so
it's almost like a football coach who's pissed at his team after a loss. It's like, we're doing it again. just out of spite, Oh, you goddamn kids.
I really think a lot about my professor turning the song off and being like, how many times, because their composition was always like, it needs to have a flow and build to something and have an arc. And I mean, they're just keeping it pinned all the time. And he was so upset about it. And that has really stuck with me. It honestly made me question him as an educator. You don't know shit if you're saying Mayday Parade is too dramatic or whatever.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like the track 8 theory as a way of life, right? Go with all your heart, man. You know what I mean? Hey, we're putting it there, but we believe in it. You know what I mean? Yeah 8 because we don't care about it, but really, we believe this album's at least 8 songs deep, if not more, to be honest with you. So,
so I do want to talk about
3. It don't matter,
I do want to talk about the way the song and the album ends, because I have a lot of appreciation for the arrangement of an album as a whole, the way songs go into each other. If the last song borrows elements from throughout the record, common themes, lyrics, thinking of All My Friends Are in Bar Bands, or even I think I Want to Sell at My Funeral might have done some of that too. This album, or this song, not so much, but I really love how the whole thing climaxes at the very end and it drops down to total silence, and we get the lines, "Does this deafening silence mean nothing to no one but me?" And that comes in as the whole band fades out and it's left with just the voice talking about deafening silence. And for the first time in the record, with the exception of maybe Miserable at Best, we get emotion through the loss of something. Every other time this band is going for it, they add. It's another guitar part. It's another harmony. They're hitting an even higher note. They're going up. They're doing a key change. At this moment, they take away for the first time in 12 fucking songs. And it is such a masterful way of ending this album.
Beautifully put. I hate to just stop it there, but maybe we end the episode in the way the album ends as well. Well said. What a ride. The hype train, it's over. The album does end at some point, is I guess how we should end the episode. But yeah, nice.
But then we have repeat all on, so it just starts right over again.
Yeah.
And Jimmy all over.
And Jersey just got colder.
It would be awesome if it turned into that Beau Burnham thing, where then we are the picture in the picture, and then we get to talk about
So what we're doing here is, I think I'm saying something I think I'm really on one here, but then I realize I've been talking for too long, and I try to kind of sloppily let Tom talk again, but I don't know how to make him talk again, so I kind of just say it, use words to do it, which is pretty clunky, to be honest. So this is going on here.
I do want to say, before we get into songs of the week, Mayday Parade and Go Radio are still making very good music. And I really loved Go Radio. I really loved Mayday Parade's second album, even though Jason wasn't in the band. So I know Dylan's out there. He fucking basically threatened us on our Google form to do this album. I hope they're still listening to their new shit, because it's different, but it's still very good. I am very excited to continue supporting this band, something I haven't done in a long time outside of my own thoughts. So yeah, let's make them our actual songs of the week. But also, I had the song "Die on the Vine" by Ways Away. Beau Burchell, who is the guitarist of Seoshin, which I just learned is pronounced Seoshin, which is a derivative of a Chinese phrase. He is a Twitch streamer now, where he writes and mixes music on Twitch, and I've been just spending hours every day with him, just kind of watching him do his thing. He's working on a new single for the band Ways Away, but their previous album that he also produced, there's a song called Die on the Vine. Super duper good.
Nice. Casey Musgraves is back.
Hell yeah.
And I really enjoyed her Grammy Award winning album. And I'm here to say that there's new work. It was announced the week we were recording, and Star-Crossed is the song of the week. I listened to it only once, and this is definitely the post-divorce album, so buckle up, I guess. I don't really have opinions on quality at this moment. I think it'd be unfair to just take this track one on Apple Music that is technically clickable, but it's coming, and this is one of those recommendations really for myself to remember to go listen to it when it comes out. But yeah.
Nice. Well, awesome, man. I'm so fucking glad we finally did this. I was worried we would struggle and just be too gushy, which I think we were, but it felt good.
It did.
What a record. This is one of probably my top 5 records from the high school era. I haven't revisited it much, probably because I can't handle the weight of it, but glad we got
and
to it.
And at the end of the day, it was a lesson in romantics. No, I don't know.
God.
Thanks for being here, everybody. Love you.
Yep. Love you all. Bye. All right, holy hell, that was a long one, but this album is so great. Easily one of the top, probably even 3 albums that I listened to consistently all the way through high school, and one of the few that even made it all the way deep into my college years on a heavy rotation. Please hit us up on Twitter at _reminiscentfm. Let us know what this album meant to you, what your perception of the band was, and please let us know what is the best song on this record. We'll talk to you all next week. Love you all. Bye, everyone.